So if last year you followed the ICJ filing against Israel for genocide by South Africa, you might be familiar with the Ugandan judge on that case, Julia Sebutinde, who is notable for being the only one who fully dissented against all requests against Israel in that case. And I recently made a video where I talked about like what the ICJ ruling is probably going to be, in which I covered the fact that I think she's like the only, she and possibly the German judge are the only ones who are like shoo-ins to vote not guilty in that case. Because she is like a fanatical Christian Zionist, like Protestant or evangelical, whatever they call them in Uganda. It's all the same. And this was pretty much well known, right? I knew exactly what she was the second. I didn't even know who she was until I read the rulings. And the second that I saw there was a judge from Uganda who voted no on everything, I knew it was a fucking Christian Zionist, because like there are like a lot of Christian Zionists in Uganda. They're pretty famous for that. Or at least no, Uganda is pretty famous for like just Christian fanaticism in general. So when I saw a Ugandan judge who had voted no, I was like, okay, I know precisely what happened here. I fucking know. Because otherwise, Ugandans are pretty like, anti-colonial, so it doesn't really make sense to have someone who's clearly so ideological in favor on Israel aside from the religious aspect. And now she made one of the most blatantly ridiculous statements I have ever seen any judge make ever in history, that I genuinely can't believe that a sitting judge currently sitting over an actual real case could ever say openly. And the craziest thing about it is I'm not sure if she's going to get away with it or not. Like, everyone knew that she was a fanatical Christian Zionist, but in her rulings and her interviews and stuff, she would try to like justify her votes in different ways, aside from just admitting that, even though the real reason was obvious. But she's not even doing that anymore. Now she's just saying the real reason for it, okay? This headline is not an exaggeration. It's a direct quote from the ICJ Vice President, Julia Sebutinde. Thank God she's not the fucking president. "The Lord is counting on me to stand on the side of Israel." So this is a judge on like one of the most important cases in international law in history. And she is openly saying that she is going to vote to acquit Israel on every possible point of contention because the Lord wants her to do so. Not because of international law, not because she disagrees on the fundamentals or the facts, or she interprets things differently. No, because the Lord wants her to support Israel. Judge Sebutinde, the Ugandan Vice President of the International Court of Justice, has said, "God is counting on me to stand on the side of Israel, and the signs of the end times are being shown in the Middle East." Early last year, Sebutinde was the only judge on a 17-member ICJ panel that ruled it was plausible that Israel was committing genocide in Gaza, who voted against all 6 measures adopted by the court. And in July 2024, she was again the sole dissenter when a 15-judge panel found that Israel's decades-long occupation of the Palestinian territories was unlawful. Now, she was criticized for this, and she has now publicly addressed the criticism. And what she said was, I support Israel in the court. I vote for Israel in the court because God told me to do so. She's not even fucking kidding. She literally said that God called her a coward and told her to wake up when she was worried about receiving criticism over her stance on Israel. She said, "I am convinced that time is running out. I would encourage you to follow developments in Israel. I am humbled that God has allowed me to be part of the last days." And also her dissenting opinion, she was the only one to dissent against every measure against Israel. Even the Israeli judge didn't do so, by the way. It was also plagiarized from like pro-Israel propaganda. That's incredible. So the ICJ surely has rules against this sort of thing, but I seriously doubt anything's going to be done about this. I actually think this is probably just going to be ignored, and she's just going to continue here, and she's going to get like one vote again, swaying things to the Israeli side in the actual trial. So I will steal this Twitter thread from someone who seems to know about this to explain how she might be able to be forced out on this case, forced out of adjudicating this case, as she fucking obviously should. Absolutely crazy that this is happening. So, in the ICJ statute, she is required to recuse herself if she lacks bias or impartiality. And if she refused to step aside, that would be her violating her oath. And if she did not recuse, then the president, who is presently Japanese, is empowered to request her withdrawal from the case due to her bias. if both of them disagree, so we're relying on a Japanese judge here, which I don't have any faith in. I think, geopolitically, a Japanese judge is more likely to just stay quiet on this and just let it happen because they're aligned with the US. Though, Japan's stance is more complicated than that. I think a Japanese judge has potential to be pro-Palestinian, but I don't think he would do something as drastic as get rid of the vice president, Should they disagree? I don't think we're going to get to this point. I just think the president's not going to do anything. The court settles the matter itself. ICJ judges may also remove Sebutinde by the unanimous opinion of all others together. That's unlikely. I'd say you have to, the German would say no, obviously, because he's German and they love Israel. South Africa could also object. I hope they do. Though South Africa has been highly pressured in the interim since the actual hearings to dial back their case against Israel, and I believe this has been mostly by the US, and I believe they have abided by that to some extent, so they probably won't do this. And Palestine could do so as well, but I mean, that's just a request. South Africa can file proceedings. Palestine can only file a request because it's not the main party in the case, because it's South Africa's case. So yeah, I mean, this is crazy. This is insane, obviously. I sadly do not have any faith that she is going to be forced out of this case, when obviously she should be. What a fucking joke world that we live in, right?